Cooking on the Radio, Lesson 1. So, obviously, I may be screaming here because I have these on. Let me turn these off a second. So, your boy John Cordy and I had a little discussion the other day. I know I didn't rip a new one or anything like that. I believe in peace and love, and everybody should have their own say. But we had a really good conversation afterwards, and he kind of tipped the ball over to me to say, okay, fine. What is the deal with these WAZAs? Why am I so jazzed about them? And I come at you not as a fanboy, not as the creator of the WAZA group, not as someone who's gone out and blown a bomb getting the Katana Air, getting all this stuff. It's really not about the hardware or the brand or exactly what it does for me. What it is about is the workflow. And one thing you'll see in his video yesterday, he said, okay, what's the best sort of practice thing you can get for a rig? And his questions, my questions are pretty well much exactly the same. We kind of tend to be on par. You want something you can take around, you can dial in your sounds with, hopefully record. Is that really that important? You want to get transported away. It's got to be lightweight. It's got to be easy. Let me get back to stink face here and these. One sec. So, one thing that you can't hear when using these is anything that's going on out front. If you're using a Variax, that means you can be dropping all kinds of low notes, tones, alternative tunings, all that kind of stuff. And the connection is this to this. That's it. So you can go outside, you can sit off under a palm tree, you can sit in a hammock. And all is well and lovely in the world. This is something that you simply cannot do with an HX Stomp. Mine is currently slashed down there. So let's say this is an HX Stomp, just for the hell of it. Earphones in there. What if you take this, plug that into your HX Stomp, problem solved. You've then got all of the goodness of the Stomp coming back into this. If you use this like a sock and just take out all the processing or put in whatever processing you want, you've then got a dual DSP, mini Helix, mini Boss, super rig. And to connect all those things together, to continue to do your stamp face, you want a pair of air steps. Basically these. 2 of these happens to give you 10 switches, which is exactly what you've got in the big Helix floor. And this is where the math, the fuzzy logic, the whole how expensive is it or how expensive isn't it really starts to get interesting, because yes, you're going to spend 350 quid, 400, let's just say for the sake of it, 400 euro, dollars, whatever. It's a lot of money. These are very expensive. You get a pair of these fully hooked up, the light and the air step combo to do 10 switches. It's another few $100. We're talking 700 already, and all you've got are earphones. Add a Katana Air into the mix. It's another 400, 450, 400. What you're not really counting though is the transmitters, the complete wireless freedom, the ability to stick that on your head. Try and do that with wired headsets. That you can't do. So really, as John says, as I would say, you always want a decent set of headphones. Open back, closed back, that could be your decision. I use these. Active noise canceling, powered. These completely isolate, can't hear a thing now, the guitar. But guess what happens? I'm constantly faffing around with this, or putting this in here, or staking this down the back of my shirt. And in the middle of summer, that's hot, and these are really hot. So generally, there's going to be some sense of minor irritation no matter what you do. If you're using in-ears, they're going to kind of slide in and out. That would be ideal, but they're never comfortable. These kind of work. But the question is always going to be, do you want the full stereo field like you'd have with your Helix, where you're designing great big lush lovely things, or do you want something like this, which is more or less reality? It's a mono rig. You've got your entire band in stereo drumming, and the effect that you have on this, I'm sorry, I've tried replicating this. I've never been able to do it. John did a really good video this morning, which I will link, and you could go and try that. You can try adding more space. As he said, this is something that you would use only for practice, but I think when you're making calculations as to how much things cost, take into consideration the much bigger scope of things, because these, as you can see by all the stank facing that I'm doing, these for me completely opened up my way of playing. I was always super concentrated, pushing down, basically intermediate stage, learning, locked up, etc. With these things on, you lose that sense of consciousness. You are completely transported into this, and you're just and to go a step beyond that, as this is your entire signal chain, anything coming out of there, and anything that can be programmed into a Variax, that's a transportable closed system that can be shared across the internet. And that, up until now, has never really existed. If you think about it, no matter what you're doing, take a Helix floor, take a Variax, take 2 power caps and stick them in a room, no matter what, that stank face is not going to translate exactly because of the room acoustics everywhere else. But for a YouTuber or anyone selling presets, come up with WAZA Air presets, link them to Helix stuff, link it to a Variax, and you've got complete control from the string to the ears across the net. And you can say, this is the sound that I'm exploring, and we can actually talk apples to apples and oranges to oranges, and not all of this interpretations between. That is gold. That is gold, 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 gold. So, as a primary introduction, this is what I'm saying. Spending the money, if you've got the money to spend, you're going to spend it anyway. You're going to be buying pedals, you're going to be buying all kinds of really cool stuff. Like this broker, like this rat, like this ODR, your drive pedals. We're guitarists, we buy gear. I would say put it, into your spreadsheets, put it into your head, put it into your logic. What do you get out of the gear? How does it affect your workflow? For me, with this, because it unhinges my imagination, because I can play at any time of day or night, takes 30 seconds, 2 seconds to turn on. Look. Off, on, done. There we go. So maybe 20 seconds to do that. Yes, it's cooking on the radio. Yes, it's impossible to make a video like that. Yes, because of that, I went and spent all this money and got a Katana Air because the sounds are the same. But the workflows are the same. The apps are the same. And as good or as bad as they are, if you think about your Helix and your HX Stomp, why would you use that? Because all of the other Helix stuff, native, floor, LT, HXFX, it's all the same workflow. And the amount of time that you're investing in building that sound is easily transferable to the other stuff. With the WAZAs, not as easy, no. But for me, the hope is always not what exists out there, it's the ideas. That's the stuff that, if I'm trying to sell anything on my channel, it's the ideas. A Mark II of these should do more, should be integrated, or that and the Stomp held together so that you're binding 2 DSP paths and doing crazy stuff. And then these things, which all of a sudden become super worthwhile because that is also controlling your Stomp and this, and the Katana Air. All of this stuff combines together into a super rig, which you can pick and take apart, and it's totally modular and it weighs next to nothing. Win, 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 win. So honestly, think about it. It doesn't have to be boss stuff. But the whole idea of practice gear is just for practice, I think there's a huge error in that. I think we're missing the boat. I think really you have to think of all of the gear as being on the same level. And what really counts is, do you get the stank face? Are you getting more out of your gear by adding something to your workflow? Or are you just replicating the same steps? And sometimes replicating the same steps, even this, is a good thing, because if a pair of 400 odd euro earphones makes a sound that you absolutely love, shouldn't the Helix be able to do the exact same thing and better? And when you have apples here and oranges in the Helix world, you should be able to learn how to make the Helix do what this is doing. Or try vice versa. Find out the difference between the two. Those are the kind of stimuli that, like MasterCard, they have no price. That's what we're here to do, is to learn tone shifting, tone making, and to rock out. To really, get out of the stress of the everyday world and get into that which makes you really happy. That has no price. Treat yourself and use whatever, but just keep going for it and trying it and get into the spirit of figuring this stuff out, because then we can go back to the bosses of the world or the line 6s of the world, or whoever you want, Axe Effects, whatever, and you can say, hey, I want some of that, and a bit of salt from that, and a bit of pepper from that, and a bit of curry from that. Shake it up. Give me this, and I'll be happy. And then everyone's happy.